how to handle China, how to design the foreign policy of India in combination with economic diplomacy, trade diplomacy, strategic diplomacy, so that the mischievous designs of China do not disturb the Indian interest and Indian pride. Since student days, the Chinese foreign policy was very closely studied by me. And I was an admirer of Chinese foreign policy with regard to Chinese interest. Because China was one country which always kept the national interest, strategic interest, economic interest very, very clear in its foreign policy designs. And that is the reason a country which was as underdeveloped as many countries has become a potential challenger of United States, if not the challenger. The 2002, when China perhaps became the member of World Trade Organization, that from that onwards, China became a success story. China firstly concentrated on its manufacturing sector. China almost became a player in the industry rather than becoming a regulator of industry. This is a very loaded line. I would like to clarify that being a regulator of industry and manufacturing sector is different than being a player. It's like being umpire and player. So China kept a goal that China has to become the global factory, global manufacturing hub, and for this they started creating a kind of ecosystem, a very favorable and enabling support, hand-holding ecosystem of manufacturing, so that global manufacturing shifts from developed countries to China. And in that process, China was very much clear that when the industrial production shift, when offshoring happens, technology also shifts, and then it will gradually improve the indigenous technology of China also. So firstly, alluring global giants to come and manufacture in China, then keeping the labor laws, trade laws, etc. very, very conducive to Chinese industry. And then Western world, especially America and Europe, thought to shift their polluting industries and other manufacturing activities because they become soft kind of countries who do not want pollution, who did not want blue collar jobs. They started graduating from manufacturing to service sector to knowledge sectors, and they thought that manufacturing can be easily outsourced because the labor of these countries became quite costlier. So their multinational with huge capital in their hands were allowed by China to come and manufacture there, and then China became exporter of these goods and services to the European countries, and a kind of comfortable zone started. China initially started price control regime because China thought that if the Chinese products are cheaper than the global products, only then the people market force will ultimately force other countries to buy Chinese products. So China focused on two things: reduction of the cost and improvement of the quality of the product in comparison to that sector. And by and by, almost the Chinese products outsmarted all the products globally, and low technology items, etc., were totally finished from other manufacturing countries, and China became net exporter of these items. I can cite with my own example. When in 92 I came to Delhi, there are a lot of industries there making toys, small things they were manufacturing. A lot of small manufacturers were there, and within 10 to 20 years I see that these all vanished. So the biggest dent to Chinese Indian economy is that MSME, small scale sectors, were totally wiped out by China. Big corporate sectors could survive because China tried to almost capture the low technology market domain completely, and that has wiped the Indian small scale manufacturers, marginal manufacturers like that. West was okay because West was graduating to different zone of economic ladder because they were turning to service industry, consultants, researchers like that, and they were able to develop their infrastructure. They tried to focus more on educated employments. I mean, they were rising to other ladders of the economy from manufacturing to service oriented sectors. So they defined that this is the general protocol of the economy because manufacturing is the ladder and then service sector develops. But in 2020, all these paradigms were demolished. So all these Western countries led by America, who thought to offshore their manufacturing and supply chain ecosystem to China, were totally helpless and helpless before China when they even could not provide masks to the people who were infected with COVID-19. Then they suddenly realized that supply chain ecosystem can be strategically critical to the national interest. And America felt it more. Gradually, America felt that the way China ripped off American economy, the way China drained American multinationals, and America became net importer of Chinese products, and China started developing global designs, global ambition of global power, etc., on the cost of American, European interest. So, I mean, that is the success story of China. No doubt China succeeded in that, and China is now around 12 trillion economy, $1 trillion economy, though it is still almost half of the US, but still I think that it is almost 3-4 times more than Indian, but fine. The military difference between India and China is not so big as the economic difference. So I can always say China became much more influencer in global politics, much more dominant factor in economic global politics because of its huge economic success. And success was that it concentrated as a biggest enabler of the manufacturing sector and economic activities. It is this portion which I would like to say that India and China, of course there are certain advantages before India. India is a democratic country. India has a respect for democratic institutions. India has a free media. India has a separation of power. India has a constitution. India has a global respect with regard to its different human right values. But India needs to understand that China can never be friendly to India. China can only become strategically friendly to India till its economic interests are fulfilled, because the huge 140 crore people's demand matters to China. Indian demands matter to China. China thinks that Indian industry being totally wiped away, and then the Indian demands, if China takes, China can boost its economy in terms of exports, etc. And China has been doing this systematically. It is trying to wipe out so many manufacturing sectors of the India, and it has started, outsmarting the other engineering sectors like Larsen and Toubro and all that. So first thing, India should understand that a road to ambition of being a global power player goes through the economic powerhouse. So India has to understand that first and foremost, Indian foreign policy must be designed, whatever may be the cost, but the loss of growth of the manufacturing sector is costlier than any cost. So India should design its trade, commerce and tariff policy in such a way so that products which can be manufactured, good or better, gradually things and technology will improve, like the Mahindra, our indigenous auto industry did in India. So even we have a low technology item, even we have little bit costlier item, still government must design its trade, import, tariff policy in a such way so that neither Chinese products are imported in India, nor it can come through proxy countries by Chinese multinationals producing them in other countries, and from there sending to Indian market. So once India does this, it is going to change the economic landscape of India. Believe me, no single answer can be to the Chinese mischief can be bigger than this. If India is able to focus on its manufacturing sector, protecting it from Chinese imports, smuggling, etc., etc., the miracle can happen within 2-3 years, because the manufacturing sector in India will mushroom like anything. We will be able to supply the whole Indian demands in our own country. We will be manufacturing. Even these days, a lot of even the small bulbs celebrating on Diwali, even glasses and cups, etc., etc., are being imported from China, because Chinese products are so cheaper that they outsmart Indian manufacturing sector. So that is one such thing. So having said that, I would like to discuss this matter of Chinese 2020 position India. So India, always had a moral background to its foreign policy, because the country like India, which has intrinsically democratic and which has a culture and civilization of being a peace lover, cannot behave irresponsibly. But China has taken its advantage unnecessarily. It has always ditched the Indian good intentions. So India has to understand that it has been doing this kind of moral policy mistakes by not understanding the Chinese designs, and China is taking the advantage. So India should consider that henceforth globally China is the enemy number one. The moment we identify the enemy, see, enemy harms us more as a friend than being an enemy. It is always said that identification of the enemy makes our battle half won. So India should understand globally no other country is enemy other than the China. It is China which is supporting Hafiz. It is China which is supporting terrorism. It is China which is opposing the seat in the veto Council of the United Nations. It is China which is opposing India in United Nations. It is China which is killing our manufacturing sector. It is China which is promoting Pakistan to follow the various designs. It is China which is provoking Nepal. It is China which is provoking Sri Lanka. So every game we try to understand, which has been fixed again against India, has in the deep circles connected with the China. So India should be clear that henceforth China can never be trusted and treated as a friend. And India should not be scared of China in the sense that, it doesn't matter, you have 6 guns, I have 2 guns. I can kill you, you can kill me. So this is the biggest deterrent India has. China cannot dare to attack on India, because China fully understands if India can send its satellites on Mars and Moon, India can very well, fire its satellites on the Beijing, Shanghai, etc., etc. So Indian military power is sufficient to destroy China, and so China can. So where is the superiority of the China? You cannot kill a country 2 times. The Indian military power, air power is superior enough to hold China. Think twice before launching any full-fledged attack on India, because it will be suicidal for China. So the world has remained peaceful only because of the deterrence of nuclear weapons. India and Russia did not fight because there were deterrence, nuclear deterrence. So India has that nuclear deterrence, and China fully understands that. Having said that, China always gives a kind of friendly look to India and then nefarious designs. And India, because of its moral code to its foreign policy, tries to sometime, caught in the Chinese designs. So first thing is that, first and foremost, design after this Galwan episode, India should understand that China is the enemy number 1 in the world. And once you have decided and defined a country as an enemy number 1, no more trade relations to benefit that country. India should clearly understand that growing its economic power is the only option to become a political superpower in the world. Fortunately, after the COVID and during the COVID, China has been totally discredited in the world because the way it concealed the accident, the way it handled the crisis and allowed entire globe to be infected, the way it became very much complacent and became chest thumping on its own victories, which was actually the designs of the China, the way it is browbeating Australia, the way it is trying to browbeat several countries in South China Sea. These all things clearly say that there is a huge alignment of global powers against China. Now India should actively think how to utilize this kind of diplomatic leverage which India has right now. USA is totally against China. More or less, Europe is the Five Eyes and Democratic 10 or G7, etc., etc. country and Australia and all that are clearly open. That China has to allow an open inquiry so that the globe can know the origins of the virus. And India should openly take into all global forums along with Australia and all that. China cannot hide because it is a powerful, and so it will allow the world to be infected and lakhs and lakhs of people are dying because of China's fault. So now India should utilize this opportunity to become a supporter of those countries, rather leader, to make that China gets cornered in terms of murder of several lives in the world because of this pandemic mishandling by the China. So India should vocally and critically convince the countries, see, making China a superpower will invite another tragedies like this, and you will know later on when that you are left with no option. China is not transparent. China doesn't have respect for human rights. China doesn't have a media independent. So Western world and Western countries must be thinking that if they are making China as a superpower, which is authoritarian, which is arbitrary superpower, which is not open to the world, it is going to the global threat. Even if being a second power, it is browbeating the countries. What will happen when it is a top superpower? So China, India should be very constructively, very diplomatically engaged with all the like-minded countries to discredit China and then to stop the economic oxygen of China from the world, because China cannot afford not to export its productions outside, because it has designed its economy in such a way that if its exports stop, it will be a great manufacturing loss to the China, and manufacturing loss will result in unemployment, which will create unrest in China, and then very critically making the information warfare in China, supporting the anti-government elements in China, so that they create a kind of unrest, a civil war, so that Chinese government becomes engaged with its own people, and that's the only way to keep China to its size. And then the countries like Hong Kong and Taiwan should be heavily supported by the world. Taiwan should be accepted as a member of WHO, as an independent country. No, let us not. Why to be defensive with the China? Because China is going to damage me even if I am very friendly to that. So it is better that I should be enemy number one. At least I will be always identifying him. Because understanding enemy as a friend is the biggest mistake I do. China doesn't understand the language of gentleman. China understands the language of the smartness, cleverness, and we have to do that. So India must understand that China should not be given any leverage, because China is building one road, one belt. It is trying to capture territories so that it can have a complete strategic location to supervise the one belt and one road going to through Aksai Chin to Pakistan. So it has its own designs, and India should understand. And India should rather oppose now. Now in Aksai Chin, it should not build a road, because Aksai Chin is a part of India. POK, if China is making the road, India should oppose that. That if you make the road, we will take it as aggression on us. So now India should try to surround China, and in this process, if required, some alliances, some strategic alliances to be done, India must do that, because it is in the long term Indian interest. and all the democratic countries of the world should understand that India, whatever powerful it will be, even it will be a supermost powerful country in the world, India is never threat to the global peace and global civilization, because India is inherently a democratic society, a constitutional society, a society with morality, a society with ethics, etc., etc. And India was a superpower for thousands of years, so it was never an aggressor. India believes in peaceful coexistence, tolerance, etc., etc. So globe should not be alarmed. But China, being a heretic, communist, authoritarian, closed regime, bamboo curtain, and all kind of evils there happening there, cannot be allowed to become more and more powerful. So the time has come to the whole world to watch and cut China to the side. Why China is having a lot of interest in South China? Because South China has so much resources of oil and gas that it can supply for 50 years the whole requirement of China. See, now India should not only engage itself with the Aksai China or like that. India should engage with other countries in South China. Indonesia is being harassed, Philippines is being harassed, Australia is being harassed, Vietnam is being harassed by China. Now India should take these opportunities. If you are poking your nose with Nepal, if you are poking your nose with Sri Lanka, you are poking your nose with Pakistan, what's problem? If we poke our nose with Vietnam, we try to have some arrangements with regard to South China, and India should very, very importantly and very, very critically should have a very strategic alliance with USA and Japan and Australia, so that China remains within its boundaries and doesn't have evil designs. So I think that now Indian diplomacy should take another leapfrogging from becoming a very, very expecting friendliness from China, rather than treating it as enemy number one. Each and every step of China should be interpreted from the perspective which I have just mentioned. China want to teach India a lesson. China thinks that India should not be the global leader. China doesn't tolerate the respect India is getting in the globe, especially under our Prime Minister. China doesn't like that the way India is being invited to G7 countries. China doesn't like the way Australia is saying India should take lead in fight against COVID-19. China doesn't like the way India and Japan are collaborating each other. China doesn't like that India should become a manufacturing hub of the world. China doesn't like India should have a veto power in the United Nations Security Council. So China has been continuously opposing the Indian strategic interest and economic interest wherever you can study. So I am unable to understand why we should not respond in the same grammar to the China. China needs to be responded on three fronts: political front, strategic front, economic front. Economic front should be started with immediate. No Chinese construction companies or manufacturing products should be imported in India or allowed to operate in India. Okay, thank you, please go back. We have enough big engineering giants like Larsen and Toubro. They are like pearls in India. Let them do our job. Okay, it will be inferior, fine. We will improve. Every country started with inferior technology. India should be very clearly decided. Why Huawei for 5G? Let us go for other Korean or maybe German or maybe American things. At least they are not so dirty people who will take your money and will be your enemy. China should never be trusted. And I am always saying that Indian foreign policy should now be heavily based on its economic diplomacy and strategic diplomacy, designing and deliberating China as the biggest threat in coming times. It is better that we identify our enemy as soon as we have seen its behavior in practice, rather than allowing China to become more and more dangerous to us, because in the long term it is the ambition of the China which is colliding with the Indian aspirations. So Indian aspirations and Chinese ambitions are totally against each other. So India cannot live with its aspirations, legitimate aspirations, with, if it thinks that China is going to be friendly. No, Chinese ambition and Indian aspirations are actually conflicting to each other. Therefore, India should clearly see. And one of my friends was telling, a lot of smugglings do happen in India. Government should be very critical and very handed on those routes and those processes where these smugglings come. Then the demand of 140 crore people will be met by the indigenous manufacturing sector, and that is going to be the critical in aspirational ladder of India to become a global economic power. And of course we are economic military, if not superpower, we are a very big power. Nobody including America can dare to attack on India, because India has that kind of nuclear deterrence which no country can think. And what to say of nuclear, even traditional warfare, India is not second to none. If China thinks that it has more tanks, India has lesser, fight is not by the tanks. Your tanks on Russian border, your tanks on Mongolian border is not going to do anything with Indian border. So India will, whatever resources militarily India has are sufficient to make China go with the bloody nose. So therefore, now India should totally be clear in its foreign policy. Its foreign policy should be how to contain and how to circumvent China and how to advance Indian interests, economic and military. That should be the credo of our foreign policy, and I think that will be the best foreign policy in Indian interest. God bless India. God bless world. The Indian aspiration is not against anybody. India want to live with peace. India want to live with coexistence. But there are certain countries which think that power flows from the barrel of the gun. Power flows from thoughts, moralities, human rights. Power flows from democratic institutions. Power flows from the gun for a sword fight. No country in the world has disintegrated. Only the authoritarian countries have disintegrated. Democratic countries have their own internal system of resolving differences, respecting differences. Unlike an authoritarian country where everything is done by the command and by stick. So India has the greatness of democracy. India has the economic potentiality. India has the demographic potentiality. So India should be clear in its foreign policy. And I'm very confident that our Prime Minister is very much precise in his thinking. And now after this Galwan incident, India is now clearer in its position and understanding what is the true face of China. God bless India. God bless world.